Hello boys and girls and children of all ages, my name is Layden Todd and it is my privilege to welcome you to my new show, Truth Be Told. So let's kick it into full gear and start with a topic which I know I'm going to get into so much crap for, minimum wage. Jacinda Ardern and Grant Robertson have announced in October of last year that the minimum wage will be jumping up 75 cents to $16.50 an hour in April of this year. This does mean that people are going to lose their jobs, prices are going to rise, and people who do not have jobs are going to be pushed even further to find a job. I will justify this in just a second, but first, what should the minimum wage be? It shouldn't. There should never be a law specifying how much an employer must pay. Moreover, and more importantly, there should never be a law specifying how much an employee must work for. They should be able to offer to work for an employer for $15, $10, $5, for goodness sakes, even 50 cents, if that's what they want to work for. But that's not even plausible, because it is illegal for an employer to agree to this amount. The government likes to spew about employees' rights, but what does this mean? It means people who are incapable of negotiating a fair and just deal. It kills any edge that the unexperienced worker has ever had. Some unexperienced workers would happily work for $5 an hour, whereas someone who has had 20 years of experience is less likely to agree to this amount. And that's not a criticism of the experienced worker. I am only trying to illustrate the advantages and the edge that is taken away from the unexperienced worker when a minimum wage is applied. Now to justify what I said before about people losing their jobs and prices going up, what is going to happen when the minimum wage is raised is one of three things. One, people are going to lose their jobs because they cannot afford the workers. Two, people are going to raise their prices so they can afford their employees. Or three, they're going to do both because they're advantageous and they want to have more money. So what happens to the minimum wage if it was taken out? What happens to people, if the minimum wage was taken out? What happens to the economy if the minimum wage was taken out? The economy would become much stronger because the prices of items, prices of products would sell for much less. And that's a good thing for business workers and for consumers. Because business people don't want the prices to be too high and unrealistic. Otherwise, people cannot afford to buy those items. The best I can do to illustrate this is the lower the minimum wage, the less poverty there is. Don't believe me? Read this chart. In 1982, the minimum wage was $3.10 an hour, and we see that only 3.03% of the population lived in poverty, whereas in 2014, when the minimum wage was 14 or just over $14 an hour, the minimum wage rose, and so did the poverty rates. The poverty rates rose to that of 4.4%. So the higher and higher the minimum wage rose, we see the higher and higher the poverty rates have become. And you can check out both citations to see this. Firstly, the minimum wage in history, and secondly, the poverty rates in history over the last 30, 40 years. 30, 40 years, not 34. The poverty rate seems to be caused by two things. A higher minimum wage, which we have seen them rise in tandem. The minimum wage and the poverty rates rise in tandem with each other and not against each other. And also prices of products going up. But if you do disagree with me, please feel free to contact me on Twitter at TotoCharm, or you can go and contact the business Twitter account, which is at DRYSMI, Or you can also go and contact me on my email, which you can get freely on the uh, About tab on our channel page. If you disagree, I don't care if you're an MP, I don't care if you're a homeless person, I don't care if you're middle class. Just contact me, step up, and tell me factually why you disagree. But until I hear any comments about that, I'm going to end it here. Thank you for joining me here today. My name is Layden Todd for DIY Media. I'll see you next time, but until then, stay safe, guys, and as always, Amen.